Hello, this is Laura Ketchy with Relationship Helpers. Today, Vincent interviews Dr. Gregory Jantz from Edmonds, Washington.
Hello and welcome to Relationship Helpers. This is your host, Vincent Ketchy, and I'm excited that I have with me today Dr. Gregory Jantz. Dr. Jantz pioneered whole person care for over 30 years ago as an eating disorder specialist. He founded his treatment facility called The Center, a place of hope, where patients are treated for depression, addiction, and other disorders. He is a best-selling author of over 35 books. His latest book is Healing the Scars of Childhood Abuse. He's appeared on CNN, Fox, ABC, CBS, and numerous other stations, newspapers, magazines. He is the host of a national radio program, and he is a highly sought after speaker worldwide. Thank you for being with us here, Dr. Jantz.
Oh, that was a lot. Yeah, good to be with you.
You're welcome. So tell me a little bit more about your background.
So I founded the Center 31 years ago, the Center, a place of hope, and I really believe in people's ability to change. Our theme is really from Jeremiah 29:11 that says we all have a future and a hope. That's how we go into this. It's how we go into relationships. And so I've been married 35 years.
Wow.
If you count them, 5 years, and have two boys, have a 15-year-old, and have a son in college.
Wow.
So that's where I am. That's where I am in my lifespan right now.
So you have a busy life, it sounds like.
So, well, as we all do, I have an active life. Yes.
Okay. So tell us about your expertise.
Well, my first early work was actually in a women's prison.
Wow.
Can you believe that?
Wow.
I worked in the special needs section of a women's prison, and in a women's prison, there are a lot of things that go on, and I was assigned to special needs, which really was the roughest and toughest group of women. And there was a lot of eating disorders, a lot of depression. This is many years ago, and I really started on a personal quest to figure out how do we really treat some of these issues. Most of them had a lot of trauma, a lot of anger towards men. Maybe they were with the wrong guy and got in trouble, and now they're in prison. So we really began back then working and formulating a whole person approach to treating eating disorders. There's a lot of eating disorders in the prison. So my early work really came out of our work with eating disorders. And the first book I wrote was in 1995, which was on eating disorders, Hope, Help, and Healing for Eating Disorders. So that was our foundation. We obviously today do a lot of different things, even marriage intensives.
Okay. So
we're a facility where people come and stay, whether it's 2 weeks, 4 weeks, 6 weeks, however they long need to stay. But we do things from a whole person, which really means we've got from psychiatry to natural health care to medicine to we even do we have dietitians on staff, counselors, mental health counselors, chemical dependency counselors. So we bring it all together, and everybody works with their own personal team. So my journey led me to a place where believing that we've got to look at every angle of our life, including the spiritual, and put it all together. Because if it's depression, and depression is the number one thing that we see in people's lives, could be a lot of different reasons at the core of that depression. It's like a big puzzle, lots of different pieces, and our job is to find all the different pieces to that person's life from a whole person. So if they're depressed, maybe there's some past trauma or unforgiveness, or maybe there's some body chemistry issues. Maybe there's a hidden addiction. So we want to uncover whatever it is.
So when you began, you saw that sometimes these women were just being treated in one dimension and they weren't being seen as a whole, it sounds like.
Yes, and that's a good way of putting it. Thank you.
Mm-hmm. What would be your, I guess, what family issue do you help with the most?
Well, when we look at family issues, it could be that maybe one person in a marriage or family is a person who's maybe got the most symptoms. Maybe it's depression, maybe it's anxiety. So we're going to work with that individual, and then we're going to probably bring in the family or a spouse, family members, because when a person goes back home, they've got they've got to make a successful transition back home.
Hmm. Hmm.
So the family issues, obviously we want to get to the root and core issues. If you've been married for a long time and you've had some significant trauma in your life and that trauma has never been dealt with, there could be a lot of implications of that in a marriage.
So you may be able to treat someone at the center and they become very healthy, but you also have to work with the family, it sounds like, so that they're able to do well when they leave the facility.
Well, that's our desire, to include family. We always try to do that.
Yeah, you try to as much as you can. I understand.
Yeah, exactly.
So, tell us a little bit more about what are some techniques or tips or things that you help your patients with?
Sure. Well, one of the things that we see, is that we, by doing this as a team, so a person working with us has their own personal team, and that team meets on a daily basis. So there may be a counselor working on some communication issues. There may be another person that's really delving into the trauma issues. We could be working even nutritionally. I'm reminded of a guy that came in and he said, Dr. Jantz, we had him do a food diary. He says, I've never been asked, what do I eat? And I said, well, we want to look at that as well. And one of the discoveries, and he had come in for depression, one of the discoveries was he was drinking 8 to 10 pots of coffee a day. Pots, not 8 to 10 cups, 8 to 10 pots of coffee a day. And how do you do that? That's a whole lot of caffeine. Now, would there be some emotional ramifications from that? Yeah, he was severely hypoglycemic. He was nutrient deficient. His system being overstimulated by that much caffeine for a long period of time. He was suffering from a lot of depression and anxiety. So, we've got to look at, what do you put in your mouth? How are you doing self-care or not doing it? So those are some things. We're going to look at everything.
So people come in sometimes unaware of what they're putting in their bodies and really how it's affecting them mentally and emotionally.
Yeah, we're unaware of how it's affecting us. That's right.
And so as a team, you're able to look at all those avenues, and it sounds like it's not just one person making a decision, but it's about 3 or 4 different heads coming together and saying, hey, let's look at this angle. Let's look at this angle. How can we treat them differently?
It's a team. That's right. Yeah. So that's just our philosophy. That's how we do things. But we a lot of times see somebody when they've been suffering for a very long time, and maybe they've tried a lot of things, or they've come to a place where they go, my 5 or 6 medications doesn't seem to be doing it for me, and I know I need something beyond that. And usually a person feels really, if you will, guilty and upset because they know it's affecting a marriage, a relationship with kids, but you reach a point of such total exhaustion, and where it's like, I don't have the energy to care. I don't even care about myself. And I feel guilty. I don't care about other things. I don't have the energy to do it. So that's a lot of times where we see ththings.
So people come in and they're just wore out and they don't know where to go or even how to help themselves.
Yeah. So that's why I say, the World Health Organization tells us too that by year 2020, that depression will be, they're calling it a disease, ranking at the top of the list of diseases for the world. Well, that means it's above cancer. That means it's higher than heart disease, depression. And so as counselors, we need to be aware that a lot of times a person coming in, maybe there's some marital issues, but there could be a individual in that marriage that suffered some long-term depression, and we need to address that as well. When individuals heal, it has a great effect on the healing of a marriage and a relationship.
Yeah, so sometimes if you're just counseling one person or working on one person, it actually can help the relationship, even though you may not be able to get another person in there that's resistant to treatment.
Yeah.
So you've been in the industry for over 30 years. What kinds of trends have you seen, or have there been trends that you've seen over your time in the mental health industry?
Some trends. Well, like any other industry, there have been some great advances. We're seeing so many things now in the area of brain and brain science, and that's kind of an area that's been ignored in a way. So we're looking at, how does brain chemistry, we had a situation just the other day where there was significant food allergies. A person had food allergies, and that's a brain reaction, and that was a unknown. So that was a hidden cause of depression. So we're seeing more advances in being able to identify, well, what are all the issues contributing to my depression and anxiety? It's not always, if you will, just purely an emotional issue. I think one of the things we're seeing is a new openness to dealing with spiritual issues, a new openness to allow faith to be integrated in the process. Some counselors say, I work in a facility, we can't mention God, can't mention faith. Well, really, the consumer, the client, is different now. Clients are wanting that addressed. And so how do we integrate faith? How do we address the spiritual side? So that's a new trend. I think, too, we always have new things coming along. We had EMDR. We had different things that are coming along. There's always going to be something new. The real hot thing right now, DBT. And we use DBT. So, there's we have psychology and counselors, we have our own language, don't we?
Right, yes.
So there are new things, and we like to integrate the best of the new, but we also understand this, that no one technique, no one strategy holds all the answers. It's in combination of working with the whole person. So that's our philosophy.
So it sounds like there's been more of an openness to spirituality over the years, and maybe more of an understanding of the physical or medical ramifications to emotional health.
I believe so. I think we're seeing a new openness. So, and we're also understanding, we're seeing a lot of new issues related to addiction. Anything addiction is certainly a very fast-growing need. The states that are legalizing cannabis, for example. Okay, well, the science is too good that cannabis is not good for the brain alone, developing brain particularly. So if we're legalizing cannabis, we are entering in a whole new set of issues that we're going to be dealing with as mental health counselors. So look at what's going on in the world and the culture, and we need to be prepared as helpers to deal with these issues. So we're seeing it now, addiction dropping to younger ages. We see it with the pornography, exposure to pornography on the internet for, average males now is being exposed to pornography about age 9.
Wow.
So you look at these things and go, wow, that has an effect. And so we need to be prepared as counselors to deal with these issues. Technology and mental health. There's another one to look at.
Okay. Yeah, so it used to be just say no to drugs, and they had the whole commercial with your brain on drugs, and that was the message from mental health or addictions. And now there's so many other addictions out there, I guess, or like you were saying, the technologies that are coming about where you can be addicted some way or tempted at least with pornography. And
absolutely, yeah. So a lot going on in our world and culture right now. There's anxiety levels are at an all-time high, and I understand that, depression, anxiety. So, but we can choose. I'm going to have good self-care. I'm going to create healthy relationships in my life. I am going to decide that I can live differently.
So you can make that decision, that behavioral decision, that you're going to live differently than the world.
Well, I think we have to practice that.
So tell us a story of when you gained some valuable insight and how you turned it into a success, or your aha moment.
Oh, well, there's certainly a lot of aha moments, and one of the things that we do is we pray for wisdom in dealing with situations. It's like, Lord God, give me divine wisdom. I talked about the missing piece to the puzzle. What are the missing pieces to the puzzle in this person's life? Give me the wisdom to be able to know those and put together a wise plan. So the issue of ahas, we get those frequently, and it's because there's the beauty of working as a team, and believe we need to be prayer driven. So we never judge a person coming in for depression and say, man, I'm on 5 or 6 different medications, my marriage is a wreck, I'm not doing well. It's not about judging that. The aha is, okay, let's partner together, and with God's help, let's find the missing pieces to the puzzle in your life. Let's put those together, and let's learn how to live a life of healing and recovery. So, the aha, the guy that was drinking 10 to 12 pots of coffee a day, well, the aha is, it matters what we put in our mouth. Mm-hmm. And so we look at those things. We've dealt with people with what's called drug-resistant depression. Well, drug-resistant depression, what's that really mean? The aha might be, here's a person that has had a secret in their life for many years, and there's a lot of shame, a lot of unforgiveness, a lot of resentment, and no amount of medication is going to change that resentment. And the antidote, the aha for them, is I've got to find a path of forgiveness in my life. And, if there's one single mental health issue that has to be addressed over and over and over, it's forgiveness or unforgiveness and the ramifications in our life of that. So
you feel like you don't see enough forgiveness in mental health, or at least maybe people practicing it or
identifying it, getting to the core. Some people will say, you know what? Yeah, no, I forgave my abuser. I forgave. Yeah, if I forgave, I have to ask the question, why do I still have all these resentments? Why do I still struggle with having a healthy relationship? Right. What are the patterns in my life that show that maybe forgiveness hasn't been fully complete?
So if they're fully forgiven, then there shouldn't be these signs of, reacting to situations or stirring up so much emotions.
Yeah. I think it's something we have to look at, yes.
So share with us what relationship skill you find to be the most effective.
Relationship skill the most effective. Okay. It's the ability to be humble. And by humble, I mean teachable. I have to be willing to be teachable. And if I'm teachable, then I'm growing. If I'm teachable, I'm probably optimistic about the future. So a relationship skill is remain teachable, which means as well that I'm giving up the need to be right. I don't have to be right. I'm giving up that need. And so I care, I love you, and so I don't have to be right. I don't have to be right in the argument. And so those keys really boil down to love, acceptance, and forgiveness. Love, acceptance, and forgiveness. Carry those 3, and man, that's foundation to not only maintain a healthy relationship, but continue to have healthy relationships.
Wow. So being teachable. So how do you get to that point of being teachable?
Well, how do we get humble? A lot of times we get humble because we're so broken. So we get humble because we've lost or nearly we're losing a person or something that we really do love. We get humble a lot of times in that face of grief and loss. Humbleness usually comes as a result of having some pain in our life, which we have an awareness. We go, oh, I have an awakening or an awareness. I get humble.
So that pain can actually be a good thing. That pain can actually help you develop this skill of being teachable, of being humble.
I believe it can go towards humble, or it can go towards being embittered and having embittered. So we have a choice. Pain in our life, we're going to use it to grow and to be really, in essence, stronger. Or I'm going to have pain in my life and take that and more a self-destruction route, unforgiveness. I'm going to be depressed. I'm going to have addiction. So I have a choice with pain.
Yeah, so it's really a decision for each individual whether they will be teachable or not teachable.
Well, ultimately, we have to decide that. Yeah. It just means we have to give up that need to be right and give up that power and control, which can be a real challenge for some.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so it's very difficult for some people to do that. So tell us about what you're most excited about today.
I'm probably most passionate today about seeing people recover and seeing them past the 6-month, the year mark. I'm excited to see, and part of what keeps me going, 30 plus years, is seeing lives change. I'm passionate about being a part of creating change in a person's life, and then seeing what God has, the purpose that God has, and we have a promise that all things can work together for good, and I believe that is something that we can take that and go, okay, God, what do you want to do next? So I'm passionate about, God, what are you going to do next? So it's exciting to see that.
So it sounds like you're very open to the future.
Yes.
And you get excited when you see God working in other people's lives, especially going through your center, and that you've been a part of God's plan in their lives.
Oh, that's our desire. Absolutely. Yes.
So this has been your passion throughout your life, to help people and to work with people, and you've progressed from creating a center to speaking and to sharing lots of books with your knowledge. Where do you feel you're going from there? Where would be your next direction?
Well, the most recent book I just did was Healing the Scars of Childhood Abuse. And I think I've been just so impressed that we need to deal with core issues, deal with truth. And so I think what I'm going to still carry the banner of hope, and the banner, whether it's healing the scars of childhood abuse or emotional abuse. I'm going to next, one of my biggest passions is really, and it's probably a life work, is this the area of depression, seeing people set free from depression in their life. So we're working on probably our biggest project ever right now, which is a book on depression.
Wow.
Well, I do want to practice what we preach, and I want to be authentic, and I want to be true in that. And I really do want to be a voice of hope, because I know, and I've seen it, and I know there can be healing, and I know people who have maybe suffered way too long. And I think I've just noticed that people will tend to wait way too long, to get the help that I would say now is available. So my word is, don't wait so long. We did a survey once and found that for depression, that people waited an average of 7 years before doing something different. So, if I just keep waiting that long and waiting that long, and usually the word is, people say, I wish I wouldn't have waited so long. So you can make a decision today. I like to say people can and do change, and I'm going to add, with God's help. I went through my own episode of depression years ago, and I had what I'll call the helper's disease. I said yes to everything. I wanted to help, and eventually led me to exhaustion, led me to depression. And so I want to stay revitalized and keep myself alive and well, so that I really am truly a representative of the hope that we have, the hope we have in Christ. So we're all working on this, but let's not let. It's easy to let other things that are subtle, that are good things, but ends up robbing us of the time we need, or the busyness, to really keep our relationship with our Creator alive and well. Keep that one alive and well.
Right. What is the best advice you have ever received?
The best advice I've ever received, probably really is a life verse, and it is I can do all things through Christ who strengthened me. And I had a mentor at one time really put in my mind that you are called, you're purposed to do things for God's kingdom, so be faithful to that. So be faithful to that. So I actually have a friend that made a bracelet, one of these, and it says I must. And so it's my reminder. It's my reminder that I must be about my Father's business. That's the words. That's the words of Jesus. I must be about my Father's business. So remember, you have a mission. You have a purpose. And silly as it is, I may need a little reminder here, remind me of that, but we can do this.
Who do you admire the most, and why?
I would have to say there'd be multiple individuals. And I admire the faithfulness trait in people, and a trait of love, a trait of loyalty. And I live in a beautiful little waterfront community here, and I'm looking out over the waterfront, and our facility, the Center of Place of Hope, is right here nearby. And I see individuals in our community who are faithful. They're faithful stewards, and they're faithful. And I'm involved in helping with it's a senior center, and seeing the life well lived. And so when I look at people that I admire, some of them are the quiet ones. They're the quiet ones that have just been faithful, but have had a huge impact, and they're not to be forgotten.
What's your favorite book?
This may sound really funny, but one of my favorite books, I probably have a couple, but one really is a book that I did. It's my favorite book, Healing the Scars of Emotional Abuse, and that was a book that was done back in 1995. That's one of my personal favorite books, and because of the message in that book, and how many times I have been blessed by my own work. Okay, this sounds funny, but it's one book that really is a good reminder is a Mark Batterson book, Chase the Lion, I think is the title. Chase the Lion is God has a purpose for you, and it's a big purpose. There's dreams inside you, and he talks about that you're chasing the lion, and so Chase the Lion is my new favorite right now.
What's your advice for our listeners?
Probably to truly listen. To really listen, and for me, it's listening beyond the words. It's listening to the heart. Listen beyond the words, and it's something I want to practice and desire to practice with my wife in my own marriage and with my kids. Really, to give the true gift of truly listening to their heart, and the value and the power of our words, the power of listening. So I want to do that. I want to listen deep.
Wow. Dr. Jantz, share with us some parting wisdom and the best way to contact you.
My parting wisdom is going to be one word, really. It's the word hope. Hope comes when we have a plan. And we need a plan. If we're struggling, if it's a marriage, relationships, hope comes when we get a plan and we have the wisdom of others helping us develop that plan, and God's blessing on that plan. So you can find me, aplaceofhope.com, aplaceofhope.com.
Thank you for being part of our show today, Dr. Jantz.
You're welcome. Thank you for having me.
Thank you for joining us today on Relationship Helpers. It is our hope that you gained some valuable information. For the show notes and more information on today's topic, please visit www.relationshiphelpers.net. Again, that is www.relationshiphelpers.net. If you enjoyed our show, please go to iTunes to subscribe, rate, and review. If you had questions or concerns about our show, please let us know about this as well by going to our website, www.relationshiphelpers.net. Thanks again and have a blessed week. Note that accuracy and authority in regards to the subject matter covered today is not a replacement for professional care. Neither the host, the clinicians, or the guests are rendering clinical or other professional advice. Seek professional help if you need it.